Finn go through, either Starting's just gonna like get this draft that's too strong to deal with, or he's playing right into Evol's hands right now.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Interestingly, the bans, once again, we see captains versus carries. On the side of Starting, we had Lorelei and Arden banned away, but then on the side of Evol, it was Reza and Anka, so taking those assassins out of the pool.
Yeah, taking the assassins out of the pool, and then on the other side, Lorelei and Arden, and it's not really a surprise.
Worth mentioning, Silver now made it through the bans, so we're actually going to see him locked in very early on in the draft. Evol's grabbed that for one of his teammates, so we'll see where that goes, because honestly, it's the kind of pick that we've seen in both top and bottom lane, and obviously top and bottom, depends on which side of the map you're on. So I'm curious to see what they do with that pick.
I think it's going to be pretty unique as well. Like you have to imagine that, like, so Finn's this slow-moving kind of anchor point for your team. I know I say that over and over. It's like the anchor for your team, but it's the truth. And you fight around this Finn, you rotate around it. Varya probably going to go to Starting all over. Now you're going to have double barrier. He's going to love that. But the thing is that with the Silver now, you're going to be able to predict most likely where that movement's going to come in. It's actually going to do pretty well into the Varya. And the thing about Finn is Finn will be consistently silenced up as he moves through. So like if Finn gets stunned, he gets silenced. He doesn't actually get stunned. And then if he, silence, you're silenced. So it means that like maybe Finn gets into position looking for a stun. Suddenly he's just sitting there and he's waiting for that silence to tick off, and you can burst somebody down. So maybe that's a way that we actually see that play out there.
I think it's worth mentioning as well, you mentioned the Varya pick, you mentioned the Finn pick. Both of those were on Starting's lineup in game number 1, and he himself said how much he loves having that Finn to body block.
Yeah.
And he can just sit back on the Varya, chain that lightning like a Sith Lord, and just annihilate the enemy team. That's what worked
he
for
was
them in
hitting
game
like
1.
a truck, man.
Yeah.
That was nuts. Like when we got into the late game, like he was taking people down like 50% health with like one simple little combo.
Yeah, that was terrible.
This one trick to win games for Starting.
Top 10 ways to win in Elo. You won't believe number 7. Idris going to be locked in as well as the Yates. Yates has been a curse so far. He's been a curse in these games.
Yeah.
Maybe Starting can break that record.
Nah, they just lost that Yates pick. That's a losing pick right there. No, all seriousness, we'll see how it plays out. I hope it does well. Yul, though, he's going to get the Churnwalker on his side. This is really interesting. They have some kind of AoE damage that they can look to kind of pair up there. And, this is the thing. Evol, this totally makes sense now that he knew the Finn was going to go through. What does well into someone that's going to have people clumped up around him all the time? That Churnwalker, 100%.
It certainly does, but you have to, once again, note the contrast between these two styles. You've got Starting all over, very much playing composition built around himself to protect him. There's a lot of tankiness and a lot of CC there. Other side of the board, pure damage, pure just, we want to win lanes, we want to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm all for the team that goes pure damage, trying to win through just bursting people down. So that's my preferred style.
It's about time we jump on into this one. Game number 4 going to be kicking off here between Starting all over and Evol. It's time once again to pass it over to Excoundrel and Dowsy to call the action.
It's the midpoint battle for first place here as Team Starting all over goes up against Team Evol. Whoever wins this one will be getting closer towards that final of this All-Stars event. We're talking about draft a little bit, Scoundrel. It seemed like Evol's team was a little bit uncoordinated, and then the Churnwalker came together.
Yeah, I mean, Silvernail is really strong in this current meta, and the fact that Churnwalker creates so much space, that's not a good start for Evol, though. And Starting, we know what he can do on this Varya. I still, in my honest opinion, think Varya is one of the best mid laners on this update, and I think a lot of this composition relies on Starting specifically. Chuck will be able to get a lot of space from Evol in this game, though, and Finn will get zoned out just a little bit by the Churnwalker, but overall, I actually think I like Starting's composition a little bit better. It all really depends on how this Silvernail works out for Outplayed, or rather Louis, because I really think that Mixi will have the ability to assassinate him very easily. However, they will have to deal with that Jewel in teamfights as well, who's also going to be a menace.
I mean, you look at the top lane, on the side of Teams Starting all over, and Outplayed and Cos have laid down some damage onto this Lance early, giving them a little bit of advantage in that lane. I love Darling struggling a little bit on this Finn to the pressure that Chuck and Evol are throwing out here. That's all that Churnwalker can do. Get those hooks chained up, pull back Starting all over. There's the core collapse to put down the deeps, and it all is coming through. Evol's churn is pretty scary as well. I mean, you don't necessarily want to let him get that hero because he kind of dominates on it.
I mean, Finn is basically a Churnwalker hook machine. His model is so big, you'd have to be blind to miss a hook onto Finn. And we all know that Evol is a very good Churnwalker, so it's unlikely that he's ever going to miss those free hooks. And that creates the space because Evol's then just sustaining off the hook that he has attached to Love Darling. Then the second hook comes out for free onto starting as well. And then that's just basically zoned out by themselves, allowing Chuck to just land those skill shots, land those Heliogenesis, and zone starting and Love Darling away. Churn is a very, very strong captain in this current meta, and you can see why, putting a lot of pressure early on to starting right now.
Yeah, we're not clowning around here. Evol's Churnwalker, pretty disgusting. We'll have to see how the team fights do start to come through. I mean, it's early stages for the game, but already you're starting to see Evol and Chuck laying down some really good combos. There it is again, the core collapse. And starting all over is going to be forced back to base here. And you can just damage Love Darling, and that's Deep's going over towards starting all over as well. Trying to use his dash to escape, but it's not even working out. I mean, starting all over is getting 1v1 by Evol, who's just throwing out the chains at this point. It's not even there. In the bot lane, though, Delphi, is he called out? It seems like he may be, because Anil on fire trying to find the kill. Evol and Chuck starting to rotate around, but they don't even need to. Delphi goes down for the first blood, going Koz's way here. And at this very point, Team Evol is on top.
Yeah, I was talking to you in draft, Dowsy, and you know, we said I was like looking at this composition from Chuck's team, from Evol's team, and I was saying I don't know if I like it. And then the Churnwalker came out, and I said, oh wait a second, I like it now. I think Churnwalker is a really, really good pick to allow Chuck that space to get farmed up really nicely, and then become that monstrous later game Celeste that we know he can be. The Spellfire Clockwork build that seems to be the build of the month right now. Then you build into whatever else you want to after that. Dragon's Eye, Boat Broker Myth, all of them are available options. But at this point in time, it looks really good for Evol's team. And like you said, catching out Delphi, who's trying to rotate out of that bot lane into the mid lane to try and find those picks onto Evol and Chuck, just to try and relieve some pressure for starting. But if there is a mechanical god that can manage to carry the game in these team fight situations later on down the line, starting is definitely the one to do so.
On this Vara as well, we already saw it in game 1 of today. Very much able to put his team on his back and lay down that sustained damage. Pretty much untouched. And now, with Mixi coming into the roster and playing this Idris as well, you have some frontline assassination potential, which just gives starting all over even more room to maneuver. Really looking forward to seeing how these late game team fights do play out. But first, you do have to get there. That's going to be the Spellfire coming through for Chuck. A lot of damage just unlocked for the Celeste in the mid lane. And now Evol, potentially every hook that he throws out becomes even more devastating.
Yeah, you have to be so careful. The longer that this laning phase extends in a 2v2, the better it is for Evol and Chuck in general. We made a little point about the Mixi pickup of the Idris here. This is actually really good.
He's in trouble.
Oh, yes, they
Look,
are.
there's the rotation coming in from mid lane. That's going to be Evol laying down the hooks. That's going to be the kill going the way of Koz. It's a double in the bot lane. Chuck picks one up for himself. The rotation just too crisp.
Yeah, and Mixi tried to get away with his ultimate, but the hook, managing to land and pull him out when he jumped out the back of that ultimate as well. That was so slick. And unfortunately, with starting and Love Darling being on the top side of the map, they weren't able to reciprocate and put pressure onto Louis, and all they were able to do was go and clear some topside jungle and go to the river shop. So massive advantage being gifted over to Evol's team here. And that's another disadvantage being going through the bot lane. Wait a second.
Starting all over is in trouble. The chain is still connected, so they're just damaging Love Darling to try and lay it down onto starting all over. Starting all over going to start with this crystal treant, but here comes outplayed. He's going to outplay starting all over. At least he's going to try. Just has to click on him and auto attack, and there it is. The tap done. Crystal treant secured for Chuck. Now they're looking to lay down the damage on Delphi and Love Darling, and they're going to push them under the tower and make sure there's nothing much else to do. Evol's team just looking so crisp in their rotational play, and nothing starting all over really can do in that scenario.
No, he just got zoned out by Evol there. Evol also level 6 now too. Does have the ultimate unlocked, and that's going to be a problem for starting. This mid lane has been a pain point for starting all over his team just because of the inclusion of that Churnwalker. Everybody grouped up around this weapon power Treant does mean that the ultimate from Varia can come out. It's going to take Chuck pretty low. That might force them away from even trying to do the Ghost Wing as they push Mixi back out of the jungle there. I think one of the things that can happen in these team fights, though, in this situation as this transpires, is that Mixi is going to be very good at putting pressure onto the back line of Evol's team. There isn't really that much protection for the Celeste and the Sylvaner, who are both very low mobility versus that highly mobile, high damage output weapon power Idris. So that is one thing that we do have to look towards as this game goes on. That could be a turning point in the team fight situation. But right now, Evol's team on top.
Yeah, I'm just really interested to see how Mixi kind of navigates the CC field that is a Churnwalker hook, a Silvernails silence, and I guess Cos can lay down the stun as well. If Mixi does kind of avoid all of these little obstacles there, then they're going to be all right. Good Crucible, but Evil does get pulled back. Churnwalker fairly tanky, can throw out those chains and it'll be all right. Pops the boots, they're re-engaging here. Cos goes in for the bada boom, but it misses. That's going to be him going out. If that connected, then potentially would have been a really good team fight. Big red button available for Neon Fire if everyone overextends. Oh my goodness, the fountain being forced. There it is, big red button, but not really good. Placed, and Chuck gets pulled under the tower. Do they want this though? The Churn hooks. Oh, it's 2 kills! All of a sudden, Starting wants to dive in and turn around, gets taunted back, finds one, but is going to get stunned on his tower, and that's Curtains. Here comes Gaspy, looking to try and clean things up on this lance, but that's a big whiff and a miss there. Can he land the damage? No, he can't. He's getting CC'd for days. It should just be them turning in. Mixi's here. Cos might be in trouble. Can Mixi commit is the question. I mean, yeah, he should be able to. The root comes through. Cos gets the shield, but it's not enough to survive. Sloppy, but definitely in favor of Team Evil.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit back and forth, but like you said, the majority of the win going over to Evol's team there. Mixi a little bit, I've got to say, a little bit slow on that rotation to mid lane. Maybe if he was there earlier, might have been able to clean up a little bit more, but he'll make do with the 1 kill at the end of the day. And because he spent a little bit of time building up that wave in the bot lane, does end up getting that turret in the bot side of the map too, so that will help even up some of this gold, which actually is not too far apart. Despite the way that this game feels like it's going, actually the gold difference right now is sub 1,000, so that's actually really, really good for the side of Starting all Over's team. Starting farming really well, despite having a lot of pressure in the mid lane, but most of that farm being gifted over to Mixi, who was about 11 or 12 ahead of his counterpart in the form of Outplayed XD. Neon, ooh, Gaspy, didn't quite go for the Githian wall there. Now finds himself behind enemy territory.
Yeah, he's currently proxy farming the lane. It is going to be Cos moving in to try and lay down the deeps. Neon Fire can provide damage from the side. Another Butter Boom missed, and oh my goodness, Chuck just finds a solo kill onto Starting all over. Not a solo kill because Evil was there, but it is a kill going over to Chuck anyways. That mid lane turret goes down. It's going to be Gaspy rolling his way to safety. I don't think Cos can really chase this for much longer. Maybe he wants to. Evol's coming around the corner. That's going to be the blocks. That's going to be the dodge. That's going to be him walking away for now. Neon Fire can't really land a big red button from afar. Outplayed under his turret in the bot side, doing okay. Cos really wants this kill. He's thirsty for it. Neon Fire's like, I'm helping. It really was just Cos who gets that all by himself. It's just a one piece of you know, a silver lining really for the side of team Starting.
I mean, at the end of the day, Cos manages to pull out that kill because Gaspy was greedy. He didn't think that Cos was going to be able to get back round to lane quick enough, and he thought he could clear a wave to prevent it getting to turret so that he wouldn't get dived. But Cos purchased the tier 2 boots, ran straight into the lane and got the kill.
And in the bot lane, that's going to be another kill going the way of the side of Team Evil. This one going over to Outplayed as they find Delphi once more caught out of position. Unfortunately, Delphi not having the game of his life. 0 and 4 on this jungle Yates. Ghostwing started up here. It's a 2-man job. Cos and Outplayed doing the deeps. Neon Fire will join on in. Gaspy is going to go over the wall. Mixi's here as well. They might just be able to take out Outplayed, and they do. That's going to be the Solar Storm going through to trade the kill onto Gaspy, but it's just enough at this point to stop the Ghostwing from being done. Potentially a little bit greedy coming up from Team Evil. Crucible blocks the Force Accord, not going to be able to find what they want. Here comes Starting all over looking for the damage, but zoned by Neon Fire. It's backline doubles for Chuck as Mixi goes in, but they've dealt with it. No, it's a 1-for-1. Not a bad trade. Evil goes back on in with the Churn ultimate, and that's Starting all over deleted from the map. Yates trying to do work. Can Delphi clean up the fight is the question. Neon Fire and Evil doing the work onto Delphi, and that might just be Delphi. He's only just respawned, going back to the gray screen. Yeah, he does. 0 and 5. Unlucky Delphi. Oh, it's not a good game for Starting all over.
No, Standing Lover's team is definitely struggling. Both himself and Delphi have been on the back end of a lot of engages here. Neon actually starting to do some serious DPS. Has gone more of the utility-based build. Gaspy, though, trying to find the 1v1. Neon really just missing every single one of these skill shots. Doesn't have his flask either. This could be an easy kill. There we go. Trade for the solo kill. Unfortunately, Gaspy just able to literally roll around every Thunderstrike ever thrown his way. And because this is a low damage build output, Gaspy was just very happy to tank that up. He's gone for the Frostburn, which means that when he lands an ultimate in a team fight, it's more likely that he's going to land a one that's going to keep people locked in it and therefore deal more damage. But it's not great in the 1v1 games, which is what you just saw Gaspy able to take advantage of right there.
Like this from Mixi. Going to be Tension Bow into Sorrow Blade, into Poison Shift. Gaspy with a huge engage. Can the rest of the team follow it up is the question. Look at the damage coming through from Chuck. Evol's doing a lot of work. Can Evol survive is the question. Ooh, it's 2 for Chuck. It's going to be a third coming through. Triple kill for Chuck here as 4 lose their life and starting all over. Last man standing runs away for his life. Ghostwing to be started up. Black Claw to be started up as well. Team Evol taking the map.
That was, Dalsy, that was kind of painful to watch. I don't mean it in like a horrible way, but it was like everybody focusing Evol, who had about 5 or 4 hooks attached in that situation, and they were focusing Evol. He was getting huge split damage off because Chuck was just landing huge supernovas on the back line, and that was shared across all of the chains, as well as the healing going over to Evol because of that, and they couldn't even take down the Churnwalker in that situation. That was rough, and Mixi was also trying to deal the damage directly to Churnwalker instead of trying to dive on the back line. Double Frostburn build coming out of this team as well. They really want to slow the pace down. They want to abuse the Finn. Frostburn is very good at abusing Finn in these situations. So they want to abuse Finn. They want to abuse Gaspy. Both of these are quite big, slow targets, and it makes them even slower and makes them big bread targets for a lot of these huge damaging abilities like the Heliogenesis.
I mean, you have 4 melees into a Churnwalker here. The Frostburn is just going to synergize so well against the enemy composition and what you can put out here if you're landing that AoE damage onto everyone. Another Force Accord blocked here. Really good stuff from Evol on point with those Crucibles. This Black Claw low, but it's definitely contestable. Here it comes. Looking for it. Starting over though. He's already out of energy here. Might not be the fight you want. Everyone's running away. It looks like everyone's going to lose their life. Yeah, 2 kills go through so quickly. Gaspy trying to run for his life as Delphi. I mean, not much he can do on this Yates. And it's only Neon Fire who's really under threat at this point in the bot lane. Mixi might be able to find a kill. They will be able to find it with the ultimate, but it doesn't really mean anything because this Black Claw is still being done. Gaspy, I mean, he's desperate to try and stop it, but there's not much a Lance can do. This should be his death coming through in just a second, and Evol manages to pull him back in for it. Delphi and Yimishi, though, they've teamed up. What can they do is the question as the Black Claw goes down. Not much, I don't think, is Scoundrel.
No, I think Mixi split pushing has both advantages and disadvantages. Mixi fighting that split push versus Neon, he's always going to win that fight 1v1, but if Mixi is not available in team fight situations, there is really very little way to threaten Chuck on the back line and to threaten Louis on this Silvernail. And that just spells disaster for the 4v4 scenarios. Mixi jumps back in onto Koz here. Koz not letting him back. They want to make the best out of this Black Claw. They know their 4v4 is stronger without Mixi there, and Koz just trying to keep him occupied.
I mean, Love Darling's almost dead. Delphi's trying to pull them into the fight, but look at starting all over, stunned up under his tower and dead. This is Black Claw doing so much damage, and Love Darling, another greedy backport, gets punished and he's dead. Fountain goes out, but it will not keep him alive. Gaspy and Delphi charged with saving the base. Mixi's 1v1ing Koz, and he is going to find it. Neon Fire's there. I mean, Mixi's doing damage, sure, but can he keep the game alive is the question. Finds 2 kills and a 1v2 and stays alive. No, minions take him out. It's all over for the side of Steam, starting all over. Chuck outplayed an Evol with the Black Claw in tail, going to take down this Vein Crystal.
Yeah, that is just the power of Churnwalker into a quadruple melee composition. Starting never had the space to take a win in any of these team fights. This Frostburn on Chuck meant that he was stuck in the chains for so long, Dalsy. Really good composition from the side of Evol.